All right. Today is May 21st, 2021, and Zer's in the tower. You can find him over here in the hangar near Dead Orbit in St. 14. Let's see what he's got for us today. I mean, I can speak. You just kind of on like a repetitive motion with your dialogue. But sure. As always, he's got his exotic cipher, which you can purchase um, once a week, I believe. If you don't already have an exotic cipher, he's got his exotic engram, which can give you anything you don't already have that would be available in his inventory, either armor wise or weapon wise, which, as you see, I have everything. And if you have everything that he can give you, he's guaranteed to give you a somewhat, hopefully high, decent roll on an exotic of the class that you're currently using. So currently you see me on my Titan, so he's guaranteed to give me a Titan exotic, and it's going to cost me a decent 97 legendary shards. If you play daily like me, then it's not really an issue. So see what it gives me. It gives me the Mark 44 Sandicides. Not necessarily the best exotic you can get on a Titan. As you can see, grants an overshield when you're sprinting at full health with Seismic Strike, Hammer Strike, or Shield Bash equipped. And charge. Hits with these abilities recharge a portion of your melee ability. It's very niche. I don't recommend it. The shield it gives you is not that great. It's got high strength roll. But everything else is kind of not great at all. You don't really need mobility on Titan, and then it's got resilience, so it would be somewhat serviceable if it was a better exotic. Maybe it needs to be tuned up a little bit. But it was a problem in Destiny 1, so they tuned it down a lot. So maybe leave it the way it is. I'm gonna delete this one. I don't necessarily use this exotic. Let's see what else he has in his inventory. He's got Monte Carlo, which comes with high caliber rounds. Its exotic perk Markov change. This weapon grants increased damage from melee kills and kills with this weapon. Melee kills grant ammo for this weapon. It's basically like an exotic version of Swashbuckler, if you know that perk, but slightly better. And it's got composite stock. And then it's got the Monte Carlo method. Dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully charge your melee ability with each kill. The charge your melee with each kill happens more often than not. Believe it or not, it's actually a really good weapon if you run a melee build for any of the three characters, which is very possible. I would definitely combine this with like a 1-2 punch shotgun. Currently the only two 1-2 punch shotguns that I know of for certain in this game, actually I think there's 3. You can get 1-2 punch on Xeno class, which is really hard to get because it's got 12 perks. It's not ideal if you're gonna farm for 1-2 punch shotgun. You can get one in the Garden of Salvation. That one comes with 4 perk slots, which is slightly easier to grind, but the issue is RNG, whether or not you get a shotgun in and whether or not you get one with 1-2 punch. And then you can get a 1-2 punch shotgun in the Rito Tail, which you can find in the Dreaming City, which is slightly easier to farm because you don't necessarily need a fire team to get that one. You can get it via Petra Revenge bounties, and unless they fix that, if you complete her bounties and then you go load into the dungeon in a Dreaming City and turn it in, you have a chance of getting a dungeon drop, as well as just completing the dungeon. You can solo it, but I do recommend you doing it as a fire team of 3 if you lack the experience of soloing dungeons. He's got the Gemini Gesture for hunters. It's a really good exotic for PvP. I don't see too much use in PvE. Yeah, I don't remember the meter. I think it's like up to 8 meters if you dodge. Well, let's read the exact perk. Dodging disorients nearby enemies and temporarily removes their radar. So PvP perk. It's really good. You see more hunters in PvP using zombies, but this is definitely a good exotic for hunters who like to stay on the ground. I know, remove their radar, and it can be really annoying to deal with. I'm telling you right now, you get a good pair of these. I would suggest using it as a hunter if you're a ground, if you stick to more ground game. It's got a cup, I believe it's got ornament you can get. I don't know if this is the only one. It doesn't necessarily shade well for me. I don't really like this exotic when it comes down to like trying to shade for it. But yeah, I would suggest maybe got 61 roll, high mobility, low resilience. It's all right. Pick it up if you don't have it already, but you can definitely get a better roll than this. All right, let's see Dune Marchers, which is a really good PvP and PvE exotic for a Titan. Mostly for lower tier difficulties like strikes, lower tier nightfalls. I would never recommend this for like grandmasters because you're just putting yourself in danger, but the chain damage from the melee is actually really great. So let's read this exotic perks. Increases sprint speed. Sprinting builds up static charge. After melee attacking an enemy, that charge will chain damage to a nearby enemies. It's really generous and can even chain off dead enemies. Very annoying to deal with in PvP. You see a lot of behemoth titans use this, or titans who use shoulder charge. Beware if you see a titan with this on and running towards you. You probably might want to run the opposite direction unless you have a shotgun. Very good. I highly recommend it. This roll doesn't necessarily sit well with me, but it's got decent recovery. 61 roll. At least 4 of the stats give you +1, and if you masterwork it, it's probably going to stay that way. Well, actually, recovery will probably give you +2, I believe, if you masterwork it. So, meh. If you're into this exotic, I highly recommend picking this up if you got the Ascendant Charge to masterwork it. It's not bad. You can do better though. And finally, for the Warlock, we got the Astrocyte Verse, which its exotic purse is move to survive, blink further and more frequently, weapon readies quickly out of blink, and radar remains up. It's definitely a void centric Warlock perk, specifically for blink. Black and Destiny 1, this exotic would have been very broken because blink was a very big problem. Destiny 2, it's very niche. You don't see too many warlocks using this, but it is very serviceable. Especially Nova Warp users, Middle Tree. It's really lethal in the right hands, but not too many PvP players tend to care to master that skill tree. It's definitely still lethal though, so 66 overall is great, but it's got low recovery and intellect, which you never want to recommend for a warlock. Resilience, it's not necessarily necessary for a warlock. As long as you have like 5, you pretty much survive a lot of BS builds in PvP. You don't really need that much resilience as long as you know you can. It's not hard to get up to 5 resilience. And mobility, I believe mobility increases the distance slightly of in which you blink. So that's not bad there, but overall the roll on this one is not great. I don't necessarily recommend this roll specifically. I recommend the exotic, but not this roll that Xur's giving you. As for shader goes, I mean, you can see you can't necessarily shade the dome. I believe it doesn't have, yeah, it doesn't have ornament yet. So yeah, that's all Xur has for this week. Let me know in the comment section below if you plan on picking up any of these exotics or what have you. I will see you next time. Peace.